the privilege of being involved in some of the development of this conference, and especially with a lot of involvement with the programming and planning the programming. And I got the chance to do that because I was trained here at Florida State University, and that's my connection. And I say that to kind of introduce the lens through which I am summarizing Plenary 2, Applying Cognitive Information Processing Theory to Career Problem Solving and Decision Making. My exposure to this approach is much deeper and fuller than just what we saw during Plenary 2 and the privilege that we've had to tour the center and see that in action. And I'm excited to be able to talk to you about what I got from that today, and also a little pleased that my mentors and valued colleagues would allow me to have the last say on their life's work. I mean, who gets to do that all the time? So thanks for that. Okay, so what we had the chance to hear about, and hopefully each of us had the chance to see, is that CIP is a theory with applicability, and it's not just a theory, but we saw and can learn that it is a whole program in action. It is not just a theory that can provide you a guide when one therapist and one client are working together in a room, which it does do that. But it can also be a guide for a way of thinking about providing services and a way of organizing an entire program. And as I listened to everything over the last 2 days, it almost seemed that so many of the recommendations were around a rethinking of how we do all of this, of how we integrate and are able to integrate theory and research and practice. And CIP provides us with a guide to not just implement a theory and maybe research a component of a theory, but a way to think about providing services in a way that could be researchable, and theory could be modified through understanding the practice through the application of research. So hopefully you got to see that in the Career Center tours. A piece that, as a faculty member that trains students each year, the piece that they talked about in Plenary 2 on training students really resonates with me and really is a big piece about what I carry into my own work. So I train people in CIP every day, every year, and watch my students practice from that perspective. And when you finish a doc program, sometimes, for those of you who are either doc students or those who have worked with them, you sometimes get out and you think, I'm going to go do my own thing, right? I'm going to go do something totally different than what they did and do my own thing and have this. And so, I had those feelings as well, getting out and what am I going to do and how am I going to do it differently. But I found when I was tasked with being the main one in my program that was going to train my students to actually provide some career assistance, that CIP is what I could do in a reasonable amount of time that was quality. And there are so many resources here that they introduced us to in Plenary 2 about how to do that you can impart the information about how to affect client change using CIP, and you can train people in that in a fairly limited amount of time. I mean, I do that within a few weeks of a semester and have students go see clients and conduct career counseling. I watch them on video do that and help them improve those skills. And I feel like within, about a semester, they have a grasp of that and can do that and can help people and can affect change in an empirically supported way. And that is a huge piece of, I think, the contribution here of this. There are so many good approaches. There are so many good ways to help people. But as Janet talked about a little bit in her piece, can you keep it in working memory? Can you keep it in there, and can you explain it to others? And I think this is an example of an approach where you can do that. Client buy-in. So sometimes there are approaches that clients, they just don't get. And we have to think about how our clients buy into this. And I know we all have different perspectives on what gets clients engaged in what we do. And I think sometimes people are shy away from CIP because they think it's just a structure you're putting down on top of people. You're trying to make them fit into this. But really listen to some of the things and think about some of the things they presented with regards to, say, like readiness. What does that mean? That means listening to a client's story and allowing some time to integrate that story into the work you do with them, making sure you're taking in the contextual factors of complexity and capability and integrating that into your intervention. It's not giving your own structure to what they do, and I hope we can appreciate that. And really just to wrap up, to say a bit more about the researchable piece of CIP, it provides components that I do believe we can put into action in research, and that we can understand, we can measure. Others have talked about, I think Gary Peterson spoke to, having measures allows people to run to your theory to do research. That's where most of the research was happening, when you have a measure that people say, oh, we can measure that outcome, and CIP provides some of that, as well as the ability, and I do this in my research, looking at the full outcome of the entire intervention. It's an intervention where you can look and measure the whole thing. And I could say so much more about that, but Nita said I have no more time, and so I will not. But thank you so much for the opportunity to talk about this, and thanks so much to my mentors for everything that you've done.